Hello, everybody. Happy World Ocean Week. I'm so excited you can join me today. We're going to wait just a couple of minutes for more friends to join us. But in the meantime, if you have a piece of paper and a pencil or some other writing utensil, I would encourage you to get those out. All right, and everybody test out that Q&A, test out your reactions. I want to know that everything is working for everybody. And like I said, let's grab a piece of paper and a pencil, or even some markers, maybe some crayons, maybe an iPad. All right, hello everybody. I see we're using the Q&A. All righty. It is a beautiful day here today. I see some of you may be having difficulty hearing me. We're going to do the best that we can today, but I might be having some connection issues today. This weather is messing up my signal. Hopefully it gets better. If at any point during this sportscast I'm cutting out, you can't hear me, let me know in the Q&A and I'll see if I can do anything to help. I'm so excited to have you all here today. Someone asked, is it raining? And it is not raining right now. It's very foggy. I have a feeling we might get some sprinkles, but that's okay. This is actually my favorite weather. Keep me updated on my connection. Let me know if you're having trouble hearing me, if I'm frozen. We're going to try our best today. I'm so excited to have you all. And like I said, pull out a pencil and piece of paper. We're going to be taking a few notes. Maybe you even want to make some sketches and do some drawing during our program today. That would be awesome. All right. And let's get started. Welcome, everybody. My name is Kenzi. I am a marine protected area interpreter for California State Parks. That means that I get to go out and study the coast and the ocean, and I get to share all of the fun things that I learned with people just like you. So today we are here at Mendocino Headlands State Park. As we talked about, it's a little foggy today. It's messing up my signal just a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to try to get through. Let me show you where I am right now. So I am at Mendocino Headlands State Park in Northern California. All right, signal is not working with me today. That's okay. All right. Okay, here we are. We're back. All right, I am having some technical difficulties. I apologize for that, everybody. All right, so I'm going to pull up a map to show you where I am. And at the same time, if you all could tell me in the chat, where are you right now? Where are you visiting from? I'm here at Mendocino Headlands State Park in Northern California. So on this map, we can see the state of California. Down in the south, we can see San Diego, Los Angeles, San Jose, San Francisco, Sacramento, and I am north of all of those. So I'm way up here, actually about halfway between San Francisco and Oregon, along the coast of California, up here at Mendocino Headlands State Park. And I'm so glad you all could join me today. Now let's see, where are some of you from? Hayward, Hubbard Steam Magnet Elementary. California, lots of you are in California. Hubbard, Vacaville, Oxnard, Whittier, Los Angeles, Atwater Elementary, Los Angeles. All right. So if you all were to get in a car today and drive up to Mendocino Headlands State Park in Northern California, how long do you think it would take? I see Richard Bard Elementary, Balboa Magnet Elementary, Glen Alta Span School. All right. Sounds like people are from all over the place. And some of you are saying it would take a really, really long time to get here. Let me zoom out again. Maybe you can get a better idea. How long would it take you all to get here? Here, 8 hours, 8 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Someone says 78 hours. That's a really long time. So I can tell you all, I'm about 3 hours from San Francisco, about 3 or 4 hours from Sacramento, about 5 hours from San Jose, 9 hours from Los Angeles. That's a really long time, and about 11 hours from San Diego. So it sounds like a lot of you are joining me from pretty far away. And Mendocino Headlands State Park is on the ancestral homeland of the Northern Pomo people. So these are the indigenous people or the native people who have lived here and cared for this land, this ocean, the river, the plants and animals here since time immemorial. That means forever, and they are still here today. And here at Mendocino Headlands State Park, we have a very special protected area. Our marine protected areas all along the coast of California. Give me a thumbs if you've ever visited a state park. If you've ever visited a state park, give me a thumbs up reaction. All right, I see some thumbs ups. Awesome. Now, state parks are really cool because they protect the plants and the animals on land. Now, these marine protected areas are these places in the ocean that protect the plants and animals that live in the ocean. These places are very, very special because here in California, during their annual migration, gray whales actually pass through some of our marine protected areas. And today we are going to be talking a lot about gray whales. All right, take a look at these whales. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever seen a gray whale before. Have you ever seen a gray whale? Give me a thumbs up. I see some thumbs ups. Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about gray whales. Now, gray whales spend part of their life down in Mexico and part of their life up in Alaska. They migrate between those two places every year. When they migrate, they come along the coast of California. So you can see in red here, that's their path that they swim every year. So I'm pretty close to Fort Bragg. The whales just stopped migrating through here. They're actually north of me right now, closer to Oregon and Washington on their way to Alaska. But what does it mean to migrate? What does it mean to migrate? Let me know in the chat. What do you think it means to migrate? Someone says to move. So migrate means move. Any other answers? What does it mean to migrate? Travel. Someone says they don't know. That's okay. Someone says to move from one place to another to meet an animal's needs. And that's exactly right. So animals sometimes migrate. Sometimes it's for food. Sometimes it's for shelter. Sometimes it's escaping some bad weather and going somewhere a little bit nicer. Sometimes it's to give birth to their babies. Now, gray whales make this really long journey every year. And that's because gray whales like to eat up in Alaska, in the Arctic. That's where they eat all of their food. It's like a buffet. And they like to give birth to their babies down in Mexico, where it's nice and warm and relaxed and safe for those young whales. Now, today we're going to be talking a little bit about what we have in common with gray whales. And we actually have more in common with gray whales than you might think. Let's think for a minute. What do you have in common with gray whales? I want you all to let me know in the Q&A, what do you have in common with gray whales? Can you think of anything that you have in common with gray whales? Someone says we're both mammals, we're both living things, we can swim. Awesome. Someone says nothing. So it's really hard to see, like, what do we have in common with these animals? They're giant, they live in the ocean, they don't really look like us. They breathe air, we both have mouths, we have lungs, we have heads and bodies. Awesome. So we have a lot in common with gray whales. Now, today we're going to be talking about some of those similarities, and we're going to be talking about some of those challenges that we both face. So we're going to start out with talking about how gray whales are mammals. So gray whales are mammals, just like you and me. And I'm going to prove it to you. Today, we are going to be using the whale acronym to talk about the 5 things that all mammals, with a couple exceptions, have in common. So go ahead and grab your piece of paper, write down whale, just like this, and we'll get started talking about the 5 things that all mammals have in common. All right, so whales are mammals that live in the ocean. We are mammals that live on land. So I've always wondered, what would it take to turn myself into a whale? Since whales have evolved from animals that live on land, what would it take for me to turn into a whale? So here we can see the ancestors of whales. Up at the top, there's some animals that walked on 4 legs on land. And once we get down to the bottom, we see something that looks more like our whales that we have today. They don't have legs, they have fins, they swim underwater. They look a lot different from us. So what would it take to turn myself into a whale? What do you think it would take to turn into a whale? If you wanted to turn into a whale, you wanted to go swim with the whales underwater, what would you have to do? What would you have to change about your body? Someone says we would need some fins. I agree. We would have to start eating a lot more because they're really big. That's right. Someone says we would have to learn to breathe underwater. So yeah, we would have to find out some new way of breathing. A lot of people are saying we have to get bigger. That's right. We need a blowhole. Sounds like some of you have studied whales before. We would have to start eating more, right? We couldn't get the same foods underwater as we do here on land. We would have to evolve. All right. So let's see how whales do this. So our first trait of being a mammal, it starts with a W. Can anyone think of what that W might stand for? So all mammals have something in common. It starts with a W. What is that? If you've studied it before, you might know. W. So all mammals, we make our own body heat, right? We aren't like lizards that go sit in the sun and get warm that way. We have to make our own heat, and we even wear coats. So we are warm-blooded. That is exactly right. So everybody can write down warm blooded. So a lot of mammals, they have fur, or like us, we wear coats to keep warm. How does a whale keep warm? How does a whale keep warm? They don't have fur. They don't wear coats. Those would be really, really big coats. How does a whale keep warm? Ooh, okay. You all know this one. Whales have blubber. So it's like a thick layer of fat. It's called blubber and it keeps them warm. So it's kind of like they're wearing a coat all the time. Very nice. So first step, if we wanted to turn ourselves into whales, we're gonna need some blubber to stay warm underwater. Good thing I brought my blubber wrap today, and I'm going to become a gray whale. Let's see. I'm just gonna wrap this around. Whoop. This is something you all can do at home. So I'm gonna wrap my blubber. They have really, really thick blubber. Keeps them nice and warm. I'm gonna be really hot today since I'm already wearing a coat, but that's okay. All right, so this is my blubber, just like a whale. Just like a whale. All right, so whales have blubber all around their body. Now, what's the next thing? The next thing that all mammals have in common. This one starts with an H. H. What do we have? It starts with an H that all mammals have in common. I think I covered my marker in blubber, so I'm going to grab another one. But go ahead and type in the chat. What do you think starts with an H that all mammals have in common? Let's see. What do you all think? H stands for hair. You are right. A lot of you got this one right. So all mammals have hair. Do whales have hair? What do you think? Do whales have hair? Give me a thumbs up if you think whales have hair. And give me a heart reaction if you don't think whales have hair. Ooh, I'm seeing a lot of hearts. You don't think whales have hair. All right. Well, let's take a look. Let's take a closer look and see. So here's a close-up of a whale. And we're just gonna zoom in. Hope you all can see this clearly enough. I know I'm having some signal problems. We're gonna zoom in and you can kind of see those dents on the whale's head. I'm starting to see some more thumbs ups. All right, so in every little dent, gray whales, all whales, have a little tiny bit of hair. There's a little tiny hair in there. So whales don't have very much hair. It's not what's keeping them warm, but think of it more like your cat's whiskers. They use these tiny hairs to help sense their environment. All right, so if we zoom out again, you can kind of see some dents on that whale's head. And in each dent, there is one tiny hair. So if I'm gonna turn myself into a gray whale, I can't have all of this hair, right? That's way too much. If you saw a whale with this much hair, that'd be kind of silly. I don't think that would be right. So I need to put on my whale wig. All right, the whales have just a few hairs, kind of like this. Okay, so if you all want to become a whale, you're gonna have to have a lot less hair, probably. Someone says I look like sushi. That's really funny. Okay, so what's next? So if mammals are warm-blooded and they have hair, what does that A stand for? What does A stand for? What is something that starts with A that all mammals have in common? What do you think? Let me know in the Q&A. What do you think? What's A? And there's a lot of it around us right now. All right, awesome. I see a lot of you are saying air. That's right. So all mammals, they all breathe air. We all breathe air. Whales, even though they live in the ocean, they have to come up and breathe air. They can hold their breath for a really long time, but they do still need air. Now, whales, instead of having a nose on the front of their face like you and I do, they instead have two nostrils on top of their head that we call a blowhole. So you can kind of see here those two holes on top of their head. That is a whale's blowhole. When whales breathe out, they have this spout. We call it a spout, and it's steam. So if you ever go outside on a cold day and you can see your breath in front of you, it's the same thing happening here. So because gray whales have two blowholes, when they spout, they make this heart shape. So if you want to become a gray whale, you're going to need two blowholes on top of your head, and you're going to have a heart-shaped spout, kind of like this. All right, I'm starting to look more like a whale. Let's see what's next. So all mammals, they're warm blood hair, they breathe air. What does that L stand for? What does that L stand for? What do all mammals have in common that starts with an L? L. Okay. I see a lot of you are getting it right. A lot of you are close. I'm seeing a lot of answers that have to do with life. Now I'm thinking like the beginning of life. I see live birth. That's right. So all mammals give live birth. So we're just going to write live birth. And I'll show you a super cute photo of a mama whale and her calf. So whales give live birth to babies, just like humans. We don't lay eggs. If you ever lay an egg, please see a doctor. We give live birth to our babies. Gray whales give live birth to their calves. And last but not least, this one is a little bit difficult. I have an E down here. What do you think E stands for? This one's kind of hard. A little bit of a stretch. Think about what baby whales, baby humans need. What do they eat? What do you think? So it has to do with eating. What do babies eat or drink? Babies are drinking milk. So all mammals, as babies, we drink milk from our moms. Gray whales, though, they live in the ocean. So if you were trying to drink a glass of milk underwater, would that go very well? What do you think? I don't think it would work very well. I think it would mix in with the ocean around us. So gray whales, they have this really cool adaptation to living in the ocean where their milk is actually as thick as toothpaste or cottage cheese. So imagine dumping some toothpaste in a glass of water, or you mix some cottage cheese and some water together. That's how thick their milk is. So essentially, baby gray whales eat Milk. We eat milk. So all mammals are warm-blooded. We have hair, we breathe air, we give life birth, and we eat or drink milk as babies. So gray whales have a lot of cool adaptations that allow them to live in the ocean. So not only are gray whales mammals, they are a special kind of mammal called a marine mammal. So as marine mammals, instead of having fur, they have a thick layer of blubber to keep them warm. Instead of having hair, like us, they have just a couple of hairs on top of their head. They work like whiskers to feel the ocean around them. Instead of having a nose on the front of their face, they have a blowhole on top of their head. So all they have to do when they come out of the water, all they have to do is just barely put their head on top. They can get a nice breath there and then go back underwater. So they have a lot of cool adaptations that allow them to live their life as mammals, just like you and me, except in the ocean. All right. Now, just like you and I, gray whales face a lot of threats. So right now, our climate is changing. Climate change is a real issue that affects a lot of animals, and it affects you and me. How do you think climate change might affect our friend, the gray whale? What do you think? Go ahead and put that in the chat. How might climate change affect gray whales like my friend here? Let's see. How could climate change affect gray whales? Water temperature is getting higher. That's right. They might die. Water pollution, changes in the water, maybe even changes in the water currents. We have these ocean currents that bring food to different places, food scarcity. Someone says the ice in Alaska would melt. That is happening. Unfortunately, their migration patterns might shift, and that they have the added stress, right? Some of you are saying pollution and microplastics. Those are other threats that these animals face. All right. So in a healthy environment, adult gray whales have this really strange way of eating. So what they do is our gray whales, they're up at the surface, they will dive down to the floor, they'll get a big mouthful of mud, and then they use their tongue to push that mud out through their baleen. So let me show you what that means here. Adult gray whales eat. They dive down to the sea floor. They get a big mouthful of mud. And in that mud are a lot of amphipods. So these are like shrimp, they're like krill. They're these tiny little animals that gray whales love to eat. So they get this mouthful of mud and amphipods. They use their baleen to filter the amphipods out. So they're getting rid of the mud and they're keeping the amphipods. That looks kind of like this. So inside a gray whale's mouth, instead of having teeth, they have baleen. This is a real piece of baleen from a whale. So this is inside their mouth instead of teeth. It's kind of like having an ingrown mustache. So it catches all those tiny amphipods on the inside and all of the mud gets pushed out. So they'll actually take that big tongue of theirs and push it to make all the mud come out, but they keep all the yummy food inside so they can swallow it. Okay, so in a healthy ocean, wrong thing, sorry guys. In a healthy ocean, we have phytoplankton at the base of the food chain. Phytoplankton relies on cold ocean water and bright sunshine to photosynthesize. It's just like plants on land, except it's in the ocean. There's a lot of phytoplankton in the Arctic and Alaska. That phytoplankton feeds the amphipods and makes more and more amphipods so that gray whales have a lot of food to eat. So that's our food chain. We have the phytoplankton that gets eaten by the amphipods that get eaten by gray whales. And it looks sort of like this. So there's a lot of phytoplankton that blooms. It sinks to the ocean floor. The amphipods eat that phytoplankton. They grow, and the gray whales eat the amphipods. Now, as our climate changes, there's another step in the food chain. So phytoplankton ends up getting eaten by zooplankton, so these tiny little animals. So they eat the phytoplankton before the amphipods get to. That means there's less amphipods and less food for gray whales. All right. So in our healthy ecosystem, our gray whales are feeding on the bottom. They're eating on the sea floor. They're getting this, all of that mud scooped up in their mouth. And they kind of look like this with their baleen, right? So they're using that baleen to filter out animals that they eat. And when the climate changes, there's less animals, there's less amphipods for them to eat. So what do you think gray whales do? I now look exactly like one. I think I'm about ready to jump in. What do you guys think? What do you think gray whales do when they no longer have amphipods to eat? When the climate warms, they don't have amphipods to eat. What are they doing? Or there's not as many amphipods. What do you think a gray whale could do to adapt? It's a hard question. So some people are saying maybe they move to a colder area, a colder place with more food. So maybe they have to change their migration, right? They have to go somewhere else to find that food. Some people say they might die, which could happen, unfortunately. But gray whales have lived through a lot of things. Gray whales have lived through the climate changing for thousands of years. They are very resilient animals. They might start eating different foods. You all are exactly right. So some of the things that gray whales are doing to adapt to our changing climate are they are either hanging out longer in the Arctic to eat more food before they migrate, or on their migration, they're stopping off in different places to eat along the way, or sometimes they're eating different foods. So these whales are adapted to eating on the sea floor, but we're starting to see them eating higher in the water column. So these whales are eating different foods, eating in different places. They're changing their migrations, and they are adapting. Now, we don't want them to have to adapt, right? We don't want to force them to adapt to the changing climate. That's a lot. So we can all do our part to help the gray whales. What do you think we can do to help gray whales? What are some things we can do to help gray whales or to fight climate change? What do you think we can do? Go ahead and let me know in the Q&A. What could we do to stop climate change or to help the gray whales. So people are saying, stop littering, clean up our earth, clean up pollution, clean up litter. Absolutely. We can ride bikes, right? So that helps stop climate change if we're riding bikes instead of driving cars. Someone else suggests that we don't throw things in the ocean that don't belong there, right? So we don't want to put trash, we don't want to put pollution in the water because that stresses our animals. Someone says use less fossil fuels. And that can be hard to do, right? So fossil fuels are the things that heat your homes, the things that help us drive our cars from place to place. So it can be hard to cut back, but you can always turn off the lights when you leave a room. You can maybe in your school, you all as a class can make some changes to use less plastic in your school. Maybe you can help your school get solar panels, use some more renewable energy, right? We could use solar, we could use like geothermal to heat things. We could maybe even use wind and water power. Awesome. Stop using plastics if you can. One thing we are doing here, we have our marine protected areas, those special places of the ocean that we protect. And a lot of our marine protected areas along the coast of California give whales places to rest, to feed, and to hide from predators along their migrations. All right. One thing that we really like to do here in California, we like to take 3 for the sea. So take 3 for the sea. And what that means is that every day we challenge ourselves to pick up 3 pieces of litter to help clean our oceans. Even if you don't live near the ocean, pick up 3 pieces of trash because those pieces of trash could make their way into the ocean. And by picking them up, you're helping the ocean and the animals that live there. And if we all do that, if we all pick up 3 pieces of trash every single day, we can make a really big difference. Awesome. And keep in mind, gray whales are challenged by climate change, but so are we. It's not just about the whales, it's about both of us. And then someone else says, maybe we educate ourselves about the whales. And I would say we could talk about the whales. We can find these things in nature that we care about and we can share those with other people. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me today. If you have any more questions, I'll be here for just a few minutes and I would be happy to answer those questions. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I just want to remind you all before we go that you are resilient. These gray whales, they have lived for millions of years and they've survived, and so can we. And we can help them, right? We can help whales, we can help ourselves by doing some of those things that we've talked about. Thank you all so much for joining me today. All right, someone asks, how long can gray whales live? So gray whales have about the same lifespan as humans. So a lot of people live 70, 80 years. That's about the same for gray whales. And someone asks, where do they migrate to and from? So I'll pull up their migration map again. Gray whales migrate from up near Alaska in the Arctic, all the way down to Mexico every single year. So they start in Alaska, they go all the way to Mexico, and then they swim all the way back to Alaska every single year. About 10,000 miles. All right, let's see, what other questions do we have? Someone asks, how many minutes can a whale go without breathing underwater? So typically, gray whales, as they're migrating, they'll typically take a big old breath and then they'll go underwater for about 2 to 3 minutes. and then they'll come up and take their next breath and then back underwater for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now they can also do these deeper dives. So sometimes they'll do a big deep dive and they'll actually kick their tail up on their way down. And then they can stay underwater for about 20 minutes. I think they can stay longer than that, but typically it's about 20 minutes. Great question. What other questions do we have? How do they know which direction to migrate? That's a really good question. Now, you all probably, as you've grown up, you've learned how to get from your house to the grocery store, how to get from your house to school, things like that. Gray whales are the same way. Now, their migration is a lot longer. It's about 10,000 miles, but they learn that migration from their parents. Someone asks, do gray whales eat us? Now, gray whales can't eat us. Their throat is actually only about this big. And remember, they don't have any teeth. They have this baleen, so they can't eat us. And someone asks, do gray whales eat anything else besides those amphipods? Sometimes they do. Some of the gray whales, as they adapt to climate change, they're actually starting to eat larger shrimps. They could be like this big. So that's a pretty big food for them. So they do occasionally eat other things. Okay. Let's see. Someone asks, how long can a baby whale stay underwater? I think it's about the same as the adults. I think they probably dive down for about 20 minutes at a time typically, but I think they can stay under longer than that. Someone asks, what happens when your baby gets separated? Now, if the baby whale gets separated from its mom, that's not a good thing. Typically, when gray whales are migrating with their babies, they are really, really close together. So we can see here there's a mama and her calf, and they are so close together. The mom keeps her calf close so that she can protect that calf. And the calf needs to nurse. It needs to drink or eat that milk really often so it can gain blubber. They actually gain about 50 pounds a day. Now, 50 pounds is probably about how much some of you weigh that are watching today. So imagine a gray whale would gain as much weight as you weigh every single day when it's a baby. So they really need their mamas to feed them. All right, I have time for just a couple more questions. Ooh, someone asks, how do whales sleep? Now, that's a really good question because when they're migrating, they don't stop. They don't stop to sleep. Whales actually have two different sides of their brains. You might have heard this with like birds that migrate. They have two sides of their brain. And one side, I believe, can rest. It's kind of like sleeping at a time, while the other side of the brain is awake. Someone asks, does food get stuck in their baleen? Probably sometimes, but they could just use their tongue and lick it out. Someone asks, can whales survive out of water? Now, typically whales cannot survive out of water. Their bodies are too big. You might have noticed when you go swimming in a swimming pool, you can kind of float around. And if you dive underwater, it's kind of like you're flying, right? Gray whales, they're used to being in the water. When they come out of the water, their body is just too heavy. They can't survive. Someone's asking if whales fart, and I don't know the answer to that. So I'm going to look that up later. I encourage you to look that up too. And someone is also asking, do whales have eyelids? And I'm actually not sure. We'll have some awesome questions today. All right. And that's all that I have time for, unfortunately. Thank you all again so much for joining me today. You all had amazing questions. Thank you all so much for all of your great answers and great ideas for how we can help these incredible animals in the future. Thank you for joining me today. Remember that climate change is a battle that we all have to fight together, right? It's going to take all of us, and we're going to help these whales and help ourselves. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.